All right, everybody, we're going to get some more practice with quadratic formula to find our zeros. It's on page 12. Just a quick little warm up here. Why don't we look at let's look at number 6. All right, if you want to try 5, you can. I will say that you end up getting x equals 0.75 or 3/4 for one of your zeros, and the other one is x equals negative 1/2 or negative 0.5, if you want to try that one. Just make sure you bring that 3 over first. All right, so let's look at 6 together. The first thing, it needs to equal 0. So this 4x has to go, so I'm going to have to subtract it. But if I'm subtracting it on this side, I have to subtract on this side, and it's going to match with the 18 because they both have an x. The other thing that needs to go is this plus 3. So it's going to have to be a minus 3, right? Because 3 minus 3, 0. 4x minus 4x, 0. But the minus 3 doesn't have anything to combine with, so we're just going to bring the 5x squared down. Then you have 18x minus 4x, which is positive 14x. And then just the minus 3 on its own. All right, so get everything to one side. Now we have to find our A, B, and C. A is 5. B is 14, where it looked like it was going to be 18. And C is negative 3. Now for me, it helps if I have the formula right in front of me. So it might not be a bad idea to write it down. X equals negative B plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c, all divided by 2 times a. All right, and again, if I were to type these into the calculator, maybe I'd see the zeros, maybe I wouldn't. On this one, I think negative 3 ends up being 1, but this one you can't tell. So we can't do it graphically. We have to do it algebraically. And if you get this down, you don't have to memorize the formula. Like I used to have to memorize the formula. You don't. Copy that down and just, instead of writing negative b, we're going to write negative 14 and so on. All right, so x equals, instead of negative b, negative 14 plus or minus the square root of b squared, so 14 squared minus 4 times a, which is 5, times c, which is negative 3, all divided by 2 times a, 2 times 5. And again, the calculator is going to take care of it, so don't stress. All right, so let's shrink it down. Negative 14 and my plus or minus. And then just a little square root. We're going to shrink it. And then 2 times 5 is 10. All right, so now remember what you want to do is you just want to type in what's underneath there. So we're going to type in 14 squared minus 4 times 5 times negative 3. And you could use the times, but I like to use the parentheses because if there's a negative involved, I can see what it is. 256, and you might not know if that's a perfect square or not, but that's what the calculator is for. Second, x squared, 256, 16. Awesome. So I'm going to take this out of there and just replace it with a 16. And we're ready to go. So one of my zeros, we're going to follow this path, negative 14 plus 16 over 10. And then the other one's going to be following the low road, negative 14 minus 16 over 10. All right, so when we simplify that down, we get 2 over 10, which is 1/5. And again, you can type it right into your calculator. It will take care of that for you. And this would give us negative 30 divided by 10, which is negative 3. All right, the next two are a little trickier because we're going to find that we don't get a perfect square, but in the end, you don't have as much work to do. All right, the first thing, we got to move this stuff over. It doesn't say equals 0, so I'm going to add 2x to both sides. I'm going to put it with the 6x. I'm going to subtract 3 from both sides, that's going to go with the 7 because both of those have no x's. And that would just give us 0 over here. That's what we need. So rewrite it, combining your terms. 2x squared, 6x plus 2x is positive 8x. And then 7 minus 3 is positive 4. All right, ready to go. A equals 2, B equals 8, and C equals 4. So use that formula. X equals negative B, negative 8, plus or minus the square root of B squared, 8 squared, minus 4 times A, which is 2, times C, which is 4. Yeah, it takes a minute, but it works every single time. All right, instead of 2 times A, 2 times 2. Time to shrink it down. Negative 8 plus or minus, and then a little square root, and then 2 times 2 is 4. Let the calculator figure this part out for you, and again, don't type in the square root. Just type in 8 squared minus 4 times 2 times 4. 32. I do second x squared of 32. It's not a perfect square, so remember we got to simplify. I'm going to kind of go, you could say, okay, that's 16 times 2. It's 4 radical 2. Or we can use that calculator trick. Remember, go to y equals, and we'll do whatever the number is, 32, divided by x squared. This is going back to simplifying from the beginning of this. And then go to the table, and you want to find the lowest pair of whole numbers. See, there's 1 radical 32, 2 radical 8, 4 radical 2, and then 1. That means that there's going to be no more whole numbers after that. So go up to the lowest pair that's on the list, 4 radical 2, which is what you see right here. All right, so again, remember you went to y equals 32 divided by x squared, and then in the calculator, we saw 132, we saw 2, 8, and we saw 4, 2, and then we saw 1 eventually. The lowest pair is your radical. You don't have to show all that work, but just in case. So now we're going to write it over here. So it's x equals negative 8 plus or minus, instead of radical 2, we're just going to write 4 radical 2 all over 4. And now you can leave it like that. That's fine. But if you want to actually simplify it, we want to divide both parts by 4. So instead of negative 8 divided by 4, that would be negative 2 plus or minus 4 divided by 4. It's got to be everything outside would be 1 radical 2 or just radical 2. Either of those works. So with that, you don't have to split it. You keep it all together. All right, so last one. I'm going to subtract my 2x squared over. So we have 1x squared or just x squared. I'm also going to subtract that 28x over. So 18 minus 28 is negative 10x. And then I'll just keep my plus 22 equals 0 because those are all gone. So A is 1, B is negative 10, and C is 22. All right, see if you can get that plugged in. I'm going to pause the video. Actually, we'll just keep going, but if you want to pause the video, you can. All right, so x equals negative b. So again, it's negative 10. So it's going to be 10 plus or minus the square root of negative 10 b squared minus 4 times a, which is 1, times c, which is 22. All divided by 2 times a, 2 times 1. Steps are the same each time. Bring the 10 down, this little square root, and then 2 times 1 is 2. We'll go to the calculator and just type in what's underneath. If you're stuck in here, you can't just hit clear, hit second mode. Parentheses around the negative 10, close them, then hit squared. Otherwise, it's going to tell you it's negative 100. It's not. Minus 4 times 1 times 22, 12. All that for 12. And again, 12 is not a perfect square. If you check it, it's that. So you can use your calculator if you want. Just type in 12 divided by x squared and go to the table. The lowest pair, you want to start at 112, 2, 3. All right. So we'll do this workout here. So again, you could have said, okay, 12 is the same as 4 times 3. That simplifies to 2, 3. Or you would have found it in the table. Either way, we're going to take out the radical 12 and replace it with the 2, 3. So x equals 10 plus or minus 2 radical 3 over 2. And again, you can leave it like that, or you can say, well, 10 divided by 2 is 5, plus or minus 2 divided by 2 is 1, radical 3, or just radical 3. You don't need the 1. All right, so you're going to get some practice with this on the next page, and I'll put a video up helping you. So if you get stuck, check out that video. But, with this one, you can just identify your A, B, and C right away, but this one you're going to have to move some things over, okay? But again, check out the video, and we can go over in class or stop by Math Lab. Have a great day.